He's now serving as commander of the U.S. Southern Command in Panama. In addition to taking over NATO's top military post, Jawin will also be assigned as commander-in-chief of U.S. forces in Europe. NATO has no formal date when Jawin will take up his assignment, saying it would be as soon as possible. And as General John Saakashvili prepares to leave Europe for his position as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, AFN asked the commanders who work for him their views on his leadership. Tonight, USAF Commander General Robert Oakes talks about the influence his bosses had on the Air Force mission here.
General Shawley has always shown a great deal of confidence in USAF. He understands our people and capabilities. He certainly has allowed us our share of opportunities to excel. There definitely hasn't been a shortage of those kind of opportunities. I don't know if he was thrown in, or knowing him, he probably jumped in, but he found himself in the middle of the most drastic changes Europe has seen since the end of World War II. He's done a remarkable job, both in leading the restructuring of U.S. forces in Europe and our role in the evolving NATO.
USAF Commander General Robert Oakes. The United Nations says it was seeking the safe return of an American helicopter pilot captured by Somali militiamen and implored them to treat him humanely. Concerns for the safety of the pilot and other missing Americans were heightened by photos and video film showing the brutal display of the body of a U.S. serviceman in Mogadishu yesterday. The body was dragged through the streets of the Somali capital at the end of a rope, surrounded by cheering supporters of warlord Muhammad Aidid. During its 6-month tour of duty in Zagreb, the 502nd MASH treated wounds from the military of 33 different countries. And now their mission supporting the UN in Croatia is over. Lee Ferguson has more.
More than 90 soldiers of the 502nd Mobile Army Surgical Hospital returned from Zagreb, Croatia Saturday night. The 502nd had deployed about 6 months ago to support UN peacekeeping efforts in the former Yugoslavia.
And we're very proud of what we did down there in Croatia. It's an unusual mission, not only for the hospital, but for the Army as a whole. The 3rd Combat Support Hospital in Nuremberg augmented the 502nd, but we also had a lot of support personnel from units throughout Germany. A lot of unusual MOSs that those of us in the medical field don't usually have a chance to interact with.
You know what you achieved down there and the difference that you made because you were there and did the professional job you did. And take pride in that, because you've set the standard now for everybody that's going to go do one of these kind of operations anywhere in the world.
I'm a nurse, so I had firsthand experience with casualties that would come through the EMT. I think the most memorable experience was when we got the kids in from Mustar, and I worked firsthand with those kids. It was a special feeling because many of them were wounded and they were in a lot of pain, but they took the time to smile. Even though they had been through a hardship, they still had a big smile on their face, and that really touched my heart.
The best thing of the mission was being able to interact with other soldiers and seeing them as people rather than just nations. You can't get that anywhere else. You could go anywhere in the world, but very few times will anyone ever have the opportunity to gain relations with so many countries at one time.
Reporting from Rhein-Main Airfield, I'm Lee Ferguson, 5th Corps Public Affairs for AFN News.
Task Force 237, participating in exercise intrinsic action in Kuwait, is the first USARA-based unit to conduct such training in that country, and Specialist Scott Speak reports it may not be the last.
Intrinsic action is part of the 10-year defense cooperation agreement between the United States and Kuwait. One of the unique aspects of this rotation is the participation of soldiers from throughout 5th Corps, which comprise Task Force 237. While in Kuwait, 5th Corps Commander Lieutenant General Jerry Rutherford said the Corps of the future will be involved in more multinational training activities.
And I think that's the new way, whether we stay in the central region or deploy out of the central region someplace to another site to do either peacekeeping, crisis, or war. You're going to be intermixed with allies, just like we were here 3 years ago in this desert war that we're standing in right now. We were combined then. So that is the way of life in the future. This gives you a different environment to work in.
General Rutherford said this exercise is a great opportunity for our soldiers to go in and conduct training that they cannot do during rotations at the Combat Maneuver Training Center at Hohenfels. He also hopes 5th Corps will continue to participate in the program.
I hope next year we're part of it again. I think we've got a lot of results out of it already. Number one, it's been a great training event with our allies. And number two is it gives us an opportunity to deploy out of Germany into another area. The environment is totally different, and operate in this environment and then redeploy home. It shows that our nation is very much in the resolve of providing security and also for providing stability here with our allies here in Kuwait.
Not too long ago, it would have been unheard of seeing the 5th Corps commander visiting his soldiers in the heat of the Arabian desert. Today, that picture is a reality and could be for years to come. Reporting from Camp Doha, Kuwait, Special Scott Speaks, AFN News.
A USAFE survey team looked at possibilities for using San Vito Air Station for special operations support past the base's September 1994 closing date. Sergeant Gary Piccarello reports, although no decision has been made, a clearer picture has been established on what it will take for San Vito to remain open.
The situation in Europe at the present time is one where our military faces a new role as a deployable, highly mobile peacekeeping force. San Vito Air Station finds itself in a unique position to assist in this role. The base is in a location that makes current hotspots very accessible by air or by sea. The problem is, what will it take for San Vito Air Station to remain open? San Vito Installation Commander Colonel Neil Patton shed some light on this decision in the making.
General Franklin came down and looked at the area. We gave him our pitch for ways to support the JSOTA. He took that back to USAFE, looked at it, and then sent a team of experts in, because what we gave him was basically about an 85% solution. We looked at different ways they could be supported, gave him our opinion of how it would be done, and he sent the staff experts in all the various fields, and they put the dollars and cents and numbers of people to our basic plan. And one of the options they took away would be to leave the JSOTA here on San Vito, bedded down the way they are now, or in the dormitory spaces, give them, assign them a certain number of buildings, and then we sort of disengage ourselves from the JSOTA. They become standalone with their own base support, and we get on about our business, which is still closing the base.
The immediate future is clear. San Vito Air Station will continue with its drawdown efforts, while at the same time support deployed forces who are presently calling San Vito home.
So what we're doing now is some basic planning as to how we're going to handle that period from now until April, when we're still mixed up together, and then how we do it later on. So we're starting the basic planning now.
Reporting from San Vito, Italy, I'm Air Force Sergeant Gary Piccarello, AFN News.
Every country has some sort of customs and tax agency, although duties and responsibilities may vary from place to place. In Italy, a branch of the military handles such matters. Sergeant Bill Hickman spent some time with Italy's Custom and Excise Corps, some of the first people you're likely to meet if you go to Italy.
Guarding the borders of any country can be a tough job. But when the country is a peninsula like Italy, watching the shoreline requires a special force. Guardia di Finanza, or in English, the Customs and Excise Corps of Italy, is charged with enforcing all the custom laws of the country.
Normally, when you fly into the airport, your bags will come out on a carrier like this. You'll go through customs, and you'll be on your way. But if you have drugs in your bag, look out.
Dog handlers in airports look for drugs on a regular basis.
Italy and Venice are arrival points. This is a transit point. In fact, we have lots of flights from Frankfurt and Paris, South American passengers, Colombians, Brazilians, etc.
The Guardia's job is multifaceted. Helicopters patrol the skies over major cities. Boat patrols guard the vast coastline, and members check businesses and individuals for tax evasion. The Corps was formed after Italian unification by combining several provincial corps. Those Americans in Italy who smoke are the most directly affected by the Guardia. Customs police inspect every shipment of American cigarettes sold on our installations, a way of discouraging lucrative black marketing. The old saying goes, money makes the world go round. The Guardia di Finanza is in place to make sure the money going around is going to benefit Italians. In Vicenza, Italy, I'm Air Force Sergeant Bill Hickman, AFN News.
Well, our weather's been anything but predictable lately, and here to see if she can nail down tomorrow's forecast is Sergeant Celinda Larrabee.
Thanks, Kelly. does. It's very slow, but you will see a return.
Intrinsic action. Soldiers from the 236 Air Ambulance Medical Company in Longstool are responsible for medical transportation when the troops are out in the field. Captain John Merkel explains the mission of the flight crew.
We do 24-hour aeromedical evacuation coverage. We have a crew on duty 24 hours a day for evacuation purposes of sick and injured. When there's a live range, we send an aircraft out to the range to support the range.
The crew travels to the range at sunrise in a Black Hawk helicopter and remains there throughout the training day. If an accident occurs, Sergeant Philip Coe says that each member of the crew is important during the 20 to 30-minute flight to Al Sabah Hospital in Kuwait City.
I'm responsible for the patient, but I can't get to the patient without the pilots. And the aircraft's not working without the crew chief. We're not going to be able to fly, so it's a whole crew thing.
Even though every member is in part responsible for a successful mission, all of them hope they won't be needed much during the exercise. From high above Kuwait, PFC Tracy Bauman, AFN News.